It's the most wonderful time of the year. And that time is winter storm season. It's 9:05 a.m. and it is November 28th. Welcome to another update from Great Lakes Weather. Today we're going to be covering that winter storm that is now going to be coming in after the lake effect snow event that we have already had, and we know that this next winter storm is probably going to bring some impactful widespread snow accumulations to much of Michigan and portions of northern Indiana and maybe even northwest Ohio included in that as well. And it's going to bring quite a bit of snow also to the Midwest. But first, let's talk about our lake effect snow event here in Michigan. And as you can see, this is the observed snowfall from the NOHRSC model. Again, this is something that is provided on Pivotal Weather's website. You can take a look at it for yourself there. But what we have here is, again, the snow accumulations, snow totals for this past event. And the measurements here, you can see some places that have exceeded 2 feet of snow across the Great Lakes region, particularly in the Upper Peninsula, and then also in areas in northwestern lower Michigan, areas near like the Petoskey Boyne Falls area, just to the south of Boyne Falls, I'd say. But you can see that nice band. There was several pretty distinct bands of lake effect snow that set up last night and have dumped quite a good deal of snow in that particular region. And you can see that a lot of areas along the Lake Michigan coastline also saw a decent amount of snow fall, particularly in the areas north of I-94. But as you get further south, you notice one place the forecast didn't really verify was in that area in southwestern Michigan. They didn't really see as much snow. You can see that portions of eastern Ohio also got that lake effect, but you still got enough snow to stick to the ground and some that will make it look kind of nice out there. I think that's going to be different for this next system. We're actually going to have a good deal of snow that is going to be making its way through, and per such, we have the National Weather Service that is putting out some winter weather alerts for the Great Lakes region and Midwest. Winter storm warnings are in effect for much of the Midwest, including almost the entire state of Iowa, southern Wisconsin, Illinois, and then also getting into portions of Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. These places will be seeing some snow making its way through, and rather impactful snow. It's going to be some heavy snow that falls in these places, and it's going to bring some impacts to travel. And it's going to be also many places that snow is going to be heavy, wet in nature, which will compact it. And if you want to build a snowman, you're going to have a great opportunity to build a snowman with the snow that makes its way through. So you can see the National Weather Service is definitely sounding the alarm on this system as it makes its way in on Saturday. And here's something from the National Weather Service with regards to the key messages for this winter storm. And it also gives you an idea of the snow totals that are expected across this region and the impacts that are likely going to occur. But again, the impacts are kind of highlighted for you right here in this graphic. You can see that there are some places that are going to have some hazardous driving and some disruption. And there are some places that are highlighted that could have some dangerous driving and considerable disruption, particularly also the Kalamazoo Metro is highlighted in there as well. We might be covering that during our chase on Saturday. But you can see portions of Illinois and Iowa are going to see pretty significant impacts from this system. I mean, heavy snowfall with rates exceeding 1 inch per hour at times are expected on Saturday. Significant accumulations of 6 to 12 inches in a broad swath from the northern plains to the Midwest and into the western Great Lakes, and locally more than 1 foot of snow. So again, some of you will probably be traveling back home during the weekend, and Saturday is not the best day to do that. It's better to leave today, or it is better to leave on Sunday after the system moves through, probably Sunday afternoon. So that's really kind of the message here is plan out your travel accordingly and make sure that you are staying safe on the roadways as this event unfolds. Now let's talk about timing, because I know timing is going to be a pretty big deal for those who are traveling during this holiday. So let's progress forward. Again, the storm is going to develop today. You can see the low pressure system it's associated with. It's going to be associated with a trough that is going to we have a trough that's moving out of the area that's been giving us our cold air. And then a secondary trough is going to be deepening over this region in the Rocky Mountain region, Colorado area. And as that happens, it's going to also allow this Gulf moisture to be pulled into the low pressure system as we have a nice southerly flow on the southern end of this. And again, with low pressure systems, you have that counterclockwise motion of winds in the atmosphere, and then it's rising air. So as that air rises, that warm moist air rises into this cooler air mass above, you're going to see that it start to condense and then also produce snowflakes that will begin to fall over this region as early as it's going to be entering Illinois around 7 a.m. based on the GFS model. That's one model. We're going to look at some other models today. So again, keep in mind that models are just depictions. They change frequently. They're useful for forecasting, but one model should not simply be taken as face value. We're going to look at multiple models for snowfall accumulations today as well. But again, 7 a.m. I think is really when it's going to start impacting this area in Illinois, Wisconsin. And then, I mean, it's going to start earlier in portions of Iowa and Missouri. Missouri is going to even get some flakes. So northern Missouri, lucky for you. But let's progress forward. And it starts to enter into the Michigan, Indiana region. It looks like around maybe 10 a.m. on Saturday. And then you can see just a nice plume of snow that sort of develops along the northern fringe of the low. You got your warm front kind of settling right in this area right here, your cold front down the backside, and on the backside of it, you're going to start to see this cool air start to filter in. That trough that's going to be dragging some cool air from Canada down behind it, which will contribute to cooler temperatures, wind chills, and then a nice little, maybe a layer of powdery snow on top of the compactable snow that we're going to see on the eastern fringe. So you see the GFS is actually playing the snowfall potential more further to the south. The Euro is not really like that. The Euro actually plays the snowfall line a little bit further north, but you can see either way, this area in the Great Lakes region is going to see a good deal of snow, and it's going to settle in a particular portion. That rain to snow line is going to be a big player in who sees how much snow, and we're going to keep that in mind is also the position of the low and then where that rain to snow transition sets up. So again, this is at 7 p.m. on Saturday. You can see that pretty much all the Great Lakes region, including portions of Ohio, is starting to see some snow. And then it's going to kind of continue to make its way through during the Saturday night into Sunday morning time frame. It's likely going to affect those not only who are traveling, but also those who will be traveling to church. It's going to be kind of a risky drive into church on Sunday. So you just want to keep that in mind if you are making that drive. And then it all moves out of the area. You can see at about 5 p.m. on Sunday, you're pretty much out of the Great Lakes region. However, on the backside, there's going to be a brief burst of lake effect snow. The lake effect snow is not going to be nearly as impactful as the lake effect we had over the past couple days during Thanksgiving, but there's going to be a brief burst of that, and then it's going to kind of just fade out and be done with. And then we'll be eyeing another system that could bring a little bit more snow to the area. And one thing's for certain with this is that winter's here to stay for a while. With the temperature, you can see that the temperature setup is really favoring just cold temperatures for a longer stretch of time. And you can see even some temperatures getting really cold as we get later on into the week. Based on the GFS model, it puts out a burst of pretty cold air. We'll see if that plays out that way. And then we might start to see a warm up as we get into mid-December. But at least for a week or so, we will see some cooler temperatures that will allow the snow to stick around for a little bit. So let's take a look at the Euro, get a comparison here on the precipitation. You can see it does play the rain to snow line a little bit further north, just as I was saying earlier, okay? And it still has that snow going across much of northern Indiana, northwest Ohio, and into Michigan. The timing on the Euro is a little bit different as well. It does still enter Illinois at about 7 a.m., and then it gets into portions of Michigan not until around 1 p.m., which would be a little bit of a difference. However, I would say the sooner you leave on Saturday, the better. If you decide to leave Saturday morning, that might be also an option for you. But you can see that still same issue. We're going to be dealing with a good deal of snow that's going to be making its way through that region. Progressing forward, it continues into Saturday night and then into Sunday. Again, there's that little bit of lake effect snow on the backside. Again, not as impactful as last time, but then it filters out and fizzles out by the end of Sunday. And we're just back to kind of just relaxing, and then that secondary system might be playing a little bit further south into portions of Ohio and Indiana. So got some things to keep an eye on over the next several days. But let's take a look at the HRRR. The HRRR is the high resolution model, usually the best model personally, in my opinion, for snowfall accumulation forecasts, and also showing kind of how it's gonna play out better for timing. So again, this is Saturday morning. It actually plays the snow coming a little bit earlier. This is at 7 a.m. on Saturday. You can see pretty much all in Illinois at this point. And progressing forward, it continues to make its way eastward and arriving into Michigan, potentially based on this model, even as early as 10 a.m. You've got some decent snow starting to fall across Michigan and portions of northern Indiana, and eventually getting into Ohio. And then heavy snowfall continues throughout the day following that. And there's your rain to snow line. It's kind of variable. You can see that there's a little spot where it dips southward, but again, you have that warm moist flow that's starting to make its way on the eastern fringe here, and then that rain to snow transition will set up. You see Northwest Ohio is getting in on the snow Saturday night into Sunday. Progressing forward, it kind of continues. Then the low pressure system is forecasted to kind of settle over portions of western Michigan early Sunday morning. This is around 4 a.m. And then at 7 a.m., you can see that it's kind of moving out of the area. It's in portions of northern lower. You've got a lake effect snow band that's sort of set up across portions of the Upper Peninsula again. But this is as far as this model run goes out. We can't really project much further than that on this model. But again, got a good idea of the timing on the system. Again, I would recommend leaving either Friday afternoon or Sunday midday or afternoon. Saturday is not going to be a great day for travel. If you leave early Saturday morning, you might also be okay. If you're not heading west, if you're heading east, you should be fine. So again, this is going to have a big role in also people traveling via air. Air flight delays are likely going to occur across portions of Chicago and even into portions of Detroit. So it's going to be, again, that's going to bring some impacts to you getting back to your home on time for the next work week. But here's some forecasted snow accumulations. Now, again, we're looking at several models because not every model is going to play it exactly the same. And then we're going to look at the official National Weather Service forecast for this as well. And again, a group I work with, Michigan Storm Chasers, they're forecasting a 6 to 10 inch plume of snow in southwestern Michigan. And I think that's probably going to play out in this case. Because if you look at the models also, get a model comparison, you can see really not getting above. We are seeing some 11 to 12 inch readings there, but generally it's looking to be like an 8 to 12 inch type of scenario across western Michigan based on the HRRR. Now look out west. This place out here in Iowa, you're getting close to the 1 foot to 2 foot range of snow, up to 20 inches of snow in some places. That's a lot of snow. And again, the snow is going to be relatively heavy. If you go back to some of these model soundings, you can get an idea of how things are going to unfold. One thing that we pay attention to with these models is, first of all, the amount of saturation in the air. You're just at freezing and the air is fully saturated, basically. The dew point's 31 degrees. With that much fully saturated air, you're basically just, you've got, well, enough moisture in there to dump a good deal of snow. Your dendritic growth zone is rather small here. It's got about 2,000 feet or 2,500 feet, which again is enough to produce snow, but again, that moisture beneath it is going to kind of keep these snowflakes heavier and wetter, and that's going to be something you want to keep in mind. And also, you can see your wind speeds are coming from out of the southeast, even with that snow. So you got your flow of warm air, or your moist air kind of making its way in along with that. And then as we get into Saturday evening, you can progress forward and you can see there's your dendritic growth zone for portions of Michigan as we get into Saturday evening. That's going to produce some very heavy snow because your dendritic growth zone there is close to 6,000 feet. Again, your dendritic growth zone, what that is basically the area where snowflakes can form, and you can see it's pretty broad between the 3 kilometer and 5 kilometer height in the atmosphere. So when that happens, that's where you see a lot of snowflake formation. And then again, with cooler temperatures and a fully saturated atmosphere beneath that, that's going to produce, again, your wet snowflakes. Not as wet as those snowflakes out west because those temperatures down in the 20s now, but still, heavy snow is likely on Saturday evening into Sunday. So you could see some pretty decent accumulations because of that, and that's something we want to keep in mind there. But snow accumulations for the HRRR, and then you kind of take a look at the other models, and it's kind of relatively similar. The HRRR kind of plays it a little bit robust with the snow accumulations in Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin, but also the icon's kind of following suit, and the NAM is kind of extreme for portions of northern Indiana, southern Michigan, going above a foot, exceeding a foot even. So again, doing our best to kind of forecast this system in its way, but there's still some variables that are at play that could lead to kind of our higher end totals. So we're keeping that in mind as we come up with our forecasts there. Now, again, going back to the official National Weather Service forecast, you can see this area is sort of kept in mind for some higher end snow totals. And the thing about this one is there's still a little bit of snow falling, a little bit of lake effect on the backside of this. But so that does factor this into play for the current lake effect snow that is falling or was falling as of 3 a.m. Friday. But you can see that Southwest Michigan is kind of that primary target area for the heaviest batch of snow based on this model. And going back into portions of Iowa, Illinois, you can see that the swath of snow is going to be rather widespread. And then portions of eastern Michigan will get in on the snow too, not as much, but they will still get enough snow to measure and jump in and build snowmen with. So that's kind of what you're seeing there. But it's going to be a pretty impactful system. Again, if you're traveling during this time, there's some good advice here on the National Weather Service's website, weather.gov. We're just going to go through this real quick just for those who are going to be traveling. First of all, if you must drive during a storm, make sure to slow down. A little stat here, more than 5,000 fatalities occur on the roadways each year due to weather conditions. So again, if your car gets stuck, that's kind of the big thing. Stay in your car, okay? Run the motor about 10 minutes each hour for heat, so don't run it all the time, because again, what happens is the carbon monoxide can build up in your vehicle and actually cause carbon monoxide poisoning, and that's something you definitely don't want while you're in your car. So just turn it on every once in a while to get some heat in there, and then just relax with it until you get help. While running the motor, open the window a little for fresh air. Make sure to get that fresh air in there. Clear snow from the exhaust pipe to avoid gas poisoning. So if it's snowing and it's accumulating over the gas pipe, again, that carbon monoxide can get trapped in your vehicle. So several things to keep in mind. Be visible to rescuers. Turn on your dome light in your car while running the engine. Tie a cloth to your antenna. Raise the hood to indicate you need help. Do things to kind of just make you aware to say, hey, I'm in need of help. Also carry some food, some water, some different things in your vehicle. Maybe a blanket, just in case you get stuck. Now, if you drive carefully, you likely will not get stuck. However, as we get into Saturday evening, it's probably advisable to stay off the roads just because of how heavy the snow could be potentially during that time frame. It's likely we'll see some church cancellations Sunday morning. So that's just something to keep in mind. But anyways, just want to give you guys that update. Definitely be aware of this system making its way through. I think the impacts are going to be more widespread than the lake effect snow event we had yesterday. So that's just something to keep in mind. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. We've been live quite a few times over the past couple of days, and we'll be live once again probably tomorrow in the midst of this winter storm. So thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe, and we will see you all later.